All right, so you have your cheat sheet already in your possession. And the key is, for some people, is just to make sure they use the right side of the cheat sheet. So if you take a look at this very first example I've given you, I'm hoping it's obvious you should be on the 45, 45, 90 side of that cheat sheet. And what you then have to do is figure out which one's going to be most helpful. And as far as your cheat sheet is concerned, I don't think you need either one of those cheat sheets to get y in this problem. Y better be 3. Again, we already talked that this is isosceles, and so those two markings, they have to be the same, so y is 3. And then what you need to do is take a look at your two cheats and see, well, which one's going to prove more helpful. And so you're sitting there, you have the two legs that are both 3. So I would say this bottom one down here is more helpful because basically I could put 3 there or 3 there. That's how some people use that cheat sheet. They very lightly write 3 in there, and then they follow the rules. This one says if you have to get to the hypotenuse, you multiply by the square root of 2. So if I'm right here, I actually like to draw it in at least to get started. So it says to multiply by the square root of 2. If at all possible, I would like you to leave these answers exact. And so if you take 3 times the square root of 2, it is very simply 3 square root of 2. And notice, with having only one side of this triangle, we got the other 2. Obviously, the 3 and the 3 was pretty simple. Could I have, at that point, used Pythagorean theorem to get the other side? Yes, I could have. But I hope you agree that just slapping a square root of 2 on it was a lot faster than doing Pythagorean theorem. Okay. And it would be right. Somebody found this pattern for you to make your life a whole lot easier. Okay, but realize this pattern that we're looking at now only works for the 45, 45, 90. Don't try this on every triangle you get. It's not going to work. So based on what you just did, all I did here is I turned the triangle on you a little bit. Do you think that changes the pattern you have to follow? Which way the triangle is sitting? No. It's the same thing. So if it's the 45, 45, 90, really what you have to figure out is, well, do I have a leg or do I have the hypotenuse? And I most definitely have what? A leg. And if you follow your little cheats, here they are again. Basically, if I have a leg, I'm probably going to use this one. It basically is saying 7, all right? And so once again, I'm going to multiply by that same square root of 2 that I did before. And so 7 square root of 2. Am I going to need to use the cheat sheet to get x on this one? I hope you don't use the cheat sheet to get x on this one, because x simply has to be 45 degrees. Yep. Because for this to work and add up to 180, it would have to be 45. Okay. And those that are wondering, well, is 7 square root of 2 bigger than 7? Well, square root of 2 is about 1.414. So if I multiply by 1.4, is that going to make the number bigger? Yes. And so the hypotenuse does actually end up being the biggest. Okay. Any questions so far on the 45, 45, 90? No? Well, I thought we were talking about triangles, and then all of a sudden I throw a what at you? A square with two triangles, exactly. And so I think x is very straightforward on this one. X basically has to be a right angle, in other words, 90 degrees. And what I think might help is if you just look at it this way. Just look at one of the triangles. That's obviously also 45. So now I believe this is the first time I've given you the hypotenuse and made you go to get the leg, which means that this one here might be the helpful one, because this is the one that gives you the hypotenuse. So those of you that like to write it in there, you can do that. Again, just do it lightly. That way you can erase it. It says to get to the leg, I have to divide by square root of 2. So if I got to get from there, it's basically then 6 square root of 2 is what it already is, divided by the square root of 2. Now I'm hoping you don't have to type that into a calculator, I'll be very honest. Because any number divided by itself is what? 1. So right there I have square root of 2 divided by square root of 2, which is 1, and then you take it times the 6 that's already there, and you get 6. Because these two do cancel. So this side here is 6, and if you wanted to, you could write it there too, but all they asked for was the 1 down there. Now, does everybody understand how those square root of 2's cancel? Okay, is everybody done with this example? Because I'm going to basically just throw a different number in there and just show you what to happen. You don't have to write this down, but you can if you want. Maybe off to the side say, well, if this happens, this is what he wants. Well, let's say instead of giving you that, I gave you something a little different. What if I just gave you 6? Is this side down here where y is still going to be 6 then if the hypotenuse is 6? No. Do you still follow the same pattern? Do you still divide by square root of 2? Is that what you're still supposed to do? Yeah. And so what I'll let you do is I'll let you just write it like that. Isn't that 6 divided by square root of 2? Now, mathematically, that's not 100% acceptable by most people because you're not supposed to have a square root in the bottom. But not all of you in here know how to deal with that. I'll let you leave it like that. Okay? Or if you really want to, in these cases, I'll let you go get the decimal if you feel more comfortable with that. And all you have to do is take 6 and divide by the square root of 2, and it'll give you the answer. Okay? So in those cases, I'll let you go ahead and do that. Again, that's if this answer was, say, 6 instead, and we had to find our way up. Okay? Is everybody okay with that? All right. So the next example, I think you're going to have to flip over your notes and probably going to want to flip over something else, too.